and that's a McLaren 620R, and he's coming up on it, and he's going to ride its tail just to piss this guy off. Welcome back to It's Track Time. Today, instead of running with PCA, I'm actually running with Chen. So this is another organization that rents the track, and they have a cool format where they let you warm up for a half an hour in the morning, and then they have an open 1 hour session in the afternoon. The other cool thing about running with them is you get to run with cars other than Porsches. So in this particular session, the most interesting car that I saw was this blue car that just went around turn 1. And that's a McLaren 620R, which is the street car version of the 570S GT4. And Matt actually owned one of these several years back, and I got some seat time in it out here at COTA. And I actually enjoyed driving it quite a bit. It's a lightweight car. It's around 3,000 pounds. His actually was dialed up, so it had in the high 600 horsepower range. It was a tuned engine that had, bi-turboed, so you can really dial it up. This particular one that's on track is a 611 horsepower car out of the factory. It's about 3,100 pounds. It has most of the interior stripped out. It doesn't have a roll cage in it. Has very good brakes. The stability software is really good. It was really easy to drive this car fast. The negatives are that the engine's not that great mechanically, and it usually has failure problems. And the other bad thing about McLarens is their electronics. They typically have all kinds of electronic problems that you have to go deal with. But when they work, they're pretty fun to drive. And so this one has about 115 horsepower on me. It weighs about the same as my car. It doesn't have as much rubber underneath it as my car, so he's not able to go around the corners quite as fast. But it's fun to run with a car like that, because typically these are fast on the straights, and because of the lack of rubber and the drivers aren't as seasoned in these times, typically in these cars, so you don't see them going through the S's as quickly as you do with the Porsche drivers that drive the GT cars and the club sports. This particular one, he had some interesting lines. You can tell that he's driving it with 2 feet because he's blipping the brakes, like right there through the carousel. You see him blipping the brakes, but he doesn't decelerate. So I think he's just settling the car with his left foot on the brake. Coming through turn 19 here, I think he went off the track. Yeah, so he goes off the track here and then has to pull himself back on. And a lot of the corners, he kind of turns in real late and doesn't hit the apex on the corners. He can typically accelerate. This white car is another GT4 car. That's a Ginetta. That guy, he wasn't very fast and was having a lot of troubles driving that car. It doesn't have anti-lock brakes, so I actually saw him lock it up here on turn 1 and put a huge plume of smoke into the air. So the other thing about driving McLarens that's fun to watch is it's almost like a comic book. You see these cars that just want to take a bite out of the McLaren's ass every time it goes through the S's. And this little BMW here, you can see it's not very stable, but he wants to get up on the McLaren, and he's coming up on it, and he's going to ride its tail as long as he can just to piss this guy off. You can see how he's twitching, and he's not very stable, so eventually the McLaren driver is like, just go around me. I don't want to deal with you. You're probably going to spin and take me out with you. So he let the BMW get in front of him so he can watch it. And this guy has this glory moment here where he goes in front of the McLaren and got a pass on the McLaren. And now he's going to ride up into turn 11, and then he's going to give this guy another point by and let him go by. You can see him, the McLaren blipped the brakes right there on 10 too. That was kind of odd. It's a real dangerous thing to do. So you can see how the BMW goes real wide, lets the McLaren go by. And then he kind of slides over and lets me go by, so I didn't get held up too much. When you're chasing down a car like this, you need all the speed you can get, so I'm going to sit down in his slipstream as much as I can. And when you get into some of this traffic, you got to watch it because a lot of times they don't give you the point by very quickly, and you end up having to get off throttle, and this guy will disappear on you. So there he went around turn 11 pretty clean. That was pretty good. Now this guy gives excellent passes. Got us both by without having to slow down. So now I got on this guy's tail, and I'm able to ride behind him here for a little bit. And now here comes some more traffic. So now we're going to have to work through this traffic, and it's going to take some time to get through it. He did a pretty good job on 15 there. You can see the car twitching there, so the stability control system in the McLarens is really good. It's very, very easy to drive. That thing, when it brakes with all 4 tires. It's very predictable. I really enjoy driving it, but I couldn't deal with the maintenance on these things. It's just way too much. Okay, so the next car we got to get around is this Corvette. And he's going to probably catch this thing pretty quickly. Did a pretty good job on 20 there. He didn't go off the track here. And then he starts accelerating. Once again, he has 115 horsepower on me, but he's not pulling away that fast. That's kind of interesting. Now he's got to get around this Corvette before we go into the S's. And he gives him the pass there, and now he's kind of watching the vet. He doesn't want the vet to come over on him and clip him. So he's kind of waiting for a position to get by there. Now he can get by him. And now that the vet's telling me to get by, and we're coming into 3 here, and I'm watching him to make sure he doesn't clip me. And sure enough, he starts coming across to the apex. And then he hit his brakes and let me go by. So now I'm trying to get a little more speed and trying to close this guy down. I'm riding a more aggressive line here. You can see when I come up to 8 here, I'm going to straddle this. And he's going to pull away initially, and then I'm going to be able to come up on him because I have a cleaner line going into 10. He slid a little bit right there. And you can see him blipping the brakes right there on 10, which is really odd. You don't want to do that. Now we come down into 11, and we need to get around this GT3. And he does a great job of pulling off to the side and letting us move through without having to get off throttle. So I can stay behind him here. You can see him pulling away from me slightly on the front straight, but that car should be able to get close to, it should be in the high 160s, and I'm at 160. He's braking at 200 meters out, though, which is way too early. And then he has a hard time hitting the apex there, so he actually couldn't slow that car down. Then he finally gives me the pass, and I get to go by. So all in all, that was a fun couple laps. You get to run with a car that's got some more speed on you, and you're a little faster in the turns. That was a good session. I enjoyed doing that. And you get to run some cars you haven't seen before, so which is always interesting. So anyway, that was pretty cool. Hope to see you guys out at the track next time.